Hello, and welcome to PsychShift. This is a game that I, Carson, Max Jones, and Donovan Mercado worked on to put together. So the hook of the game, it's going to be a fast-paced type of game where the main character can mind swap with enemies on the fly. And when the main character does this, he takes on the enemy's stats, abilities, and where they were at the time they swapped. And the main story is that the player was created in the lab for an unknown reason, and the player is trying to escape that lab. The art style we're going for is represented in the PowerPoint. It's a combination of dystopia and synthwave. And synthwave music is going to be used throughout the game mechanics. The player and all the enemies each have one weapon at a time, and the enemies have different varied weapons. And if the player wants to choose a different weapon or swap to a different weapon, they can by mind swapping. There are a finite amount of enemies in each level, so you can clear out a whole level and no more enemies will spawn in that area. No matter what enemy you end up mind swapping to, you can finish up a level or a puzzle. It's just going to be varied in different ways. So multiple ways of finishing a level or leaving the level. And here's a quick list of the type of stats that the enemy would have that you would swap to, which would include health, movement, the weapon, of course, the size of the enemy, and then certain puzzle elements, which, for example, small enemies could fit into vents, and enemies that are fast can move quickly through combat. And we also have keycard enemies that could potentially have like our key for a door. Here's the gameplay loop, and it's going to be a loop of exploration into a room. You attack the enemies and mind swap with them to figure out the puzzles or kill all the enemies, and then you go to the next area where that starts again. The gameplay continues like this until you get to the very last boss, which is the architect. The player wakes up in a laboratory. As they make their way through the lab, they interact with different bosses, and it is slowly learned that the same power that the player uses to mind control is sort of based off of the same network that the bosses use to control the minions. So it's given a choice between the two to have control over those minions or to set them free. And then here's a gameplay video that we have, a quick gameplay video of the mind swapping ability. In the actual game, there'll be a little outline around an enemy that'll show you that you can mind swap with them at that current time. It'll just make it a little bit easier for the player to visually see what they can do. And thank you for looking at this idea. We appreciate your time, and let's put our minds together and make this awesome game. Thank you. Hello, and